Over the weekend, from the 18th to the 20th of July, I had the incredible privilege of attending the Awdry Extravaganza 2025 at the Talyllyn Railway. This fantastic event celebrated the life and legacy of the Reverend Wilbert Awdry, marking the 80th anniversary of his iconic Railway series books, a series deeply rooted in his experiences as a volunteer right here on the Talyllyn Railway. This was my very first time attending, and I was absolutely overwhelmed. I knew it was popular, but I truly underestimated just how popular the event is. I had such a lovely time, and this is apparently going to be the last extravaganza for a while, so I was determined to make it to this one. I'm so excited to give you a breakdown of everything I saw and my experience, so I hope you enjoy this glimpse into the event. Day 1 of the Awdry Extravaganza began under a rather damp sky. As I made my way to Talyllyn, despite the rain, the excitement was palpable, and I arrived just in time to witness the official handover ceremony, where Veronica Chambers, granddaughter of the Reverend Wilbert Awdry himself, warmly welcomed the special Sodor guests to the Talyllyn. Upon reaching Talyllyn, I was thrilled to also spot the first of the visiting engines, Duke the Lost Engine, who was here visiting courtesy of the Steamroller Railway. Duke was a fantastic sight, offering footplate rides at a very affordable £2 price. Due to the Steamroller Railway's different gauge, a special stretch of track had been laid down at Wharf, allowing Duke to run back and forth for these footplate rides. I even caught a glimpse as I was there that early of the loco crew preparing her for the day that morning. My first adventure of the day was aboard the Exhibition train, which departed bright and early. This special service, running each morning and evening, offered me a closer look at the Awdry Exhibition and guaranteed me free entry. The exhibition at Awdry Station was an absolute treasure trove, displaying the Reverend's own model railways, Farquhar branch, and also his mid-Sodor layouts, alongside fascinating material from both the Awdry study and Mattel's official Thomas archives. I was really captivated by several of the large-scale TV series props from Thomas and Friends, particularly those relating to the Skarloey Railway, whose buildings were clearly inspired by infrastructure from the Talyllyn and other Welsh narrow gauge railways. It was really interesting to also hear that the trestle bridge was actually inspired by the Vale of Rydal. A real highlight, though, was discovering that the paddle steamer prop from Series 4 was actually originally constructed as OJ from Thomas's sister series, Tugs. It was also awesome to see the large-scale props of Skarloey and Rheneas from the later model series. The exhibition also showcased two of Awdry's layouts, including one that was a completely new sight for me, very kindly brought by the Awdry family for this event, the mid-Sodor layout. After Awdry moved into his new house in 1965 and found he had much less room for his model railways, he decided in 1968 to build an 009 layout based on the mid-Sodor railway. Interestingly, the history of the railway had already been developed prior to the layout's construction, and the first two engines acquired were Duke and Stanley, and they were even used to test the track during its construction to see what hills and curves the models could manage. It was truly amazing to see this piece of Railway series history in person, and it really is a testament to Awdry's skill as a layout builder. Finally, I was also once again able to enjoy Awdry's iconic Farquhar branch layout, which he had constructed in 1955-56. I've seen this at previous exhibitions and even compiled the footage into its own video, so do check that out if you want to see more of Farquhar. The building itself, where at Awdry, where the exhibition was quite cramped, so I didn't film as much as I would have liked to, but with everyone wanting to also see the same things, I couldn't just very well stand there and just film the entire time, especially when other people, they have paid and they need to see these things, so I hope you enjoy the footage that I managed to get. Upon travelling back on the exhibition train to Talyllyn Wharf, I was pleasantly surprised to find that the weather had completely transformed. What started out as a rainy morning on that Friday had turned into a glorious, lovely sunny day. And Wharf was absolutely buzzing with activity. Among the hustle and bustle, I spotted a special visitor to the railway, George the Steamroller, who was now in action. The steamroller, Thistledown, who was in the guise of George, is a beautiful steamroller that was built in 1903 and once owned by the late Teddy Boston. It was able to move about the yard, adding to the lively atmosphere. What was also a huge surprise, as I hadn't seen him when I was first arriving, was that Duncan was also in attendance at the extravaganza. He was looking a little worse for wear though, as number 6 is currently mid-overhaul. It was quite an eerie sight actually, seeing him with his face still on the boiler. Next I also saw Mike the Small Engine, also known as Rivermite from the Ravenglass and Eskdale Railway, arriving on a flatbed, riding behind other engines. It was lovely to see some Arlesdale representation from Sodor. Around this time I attempted to visit the exhibition at Wharf. I was unlucky enough not to get a slot when I was booking my tickets. Again, I just underestimated how popular the event is, and I thought I can wait till I'm back from work later on and I'll book everything then, but by the time I'd done that, everything had almost gone, so it's my fault. I know for next time. The kind volunteer at the entrance instructed me to come back tomorrow, the Saturday, and they'd see what they could do to fit me in. Next, I was booked for a truly special experience on the Friday, the talking train pulled by Sir Handel. This new addition to the timetable promised a guided tour of the railway and its Awdry connection, with speakers fitted in each of the carriages. It was actually going to be hosted live then by Tim Dunn, interspersed with narrations from the Reverend Wilbert Awdry himself. I was absolutely thrilled to get a spot on this, as I adore Tim Dunn's television programmes and he's a really good presenter. I was joined on this journey by Logan, also known as Tats, which made the experience even better to finally meet him in person. Being the first talking train during the event, there were a few technical difficulties and a couple of hitches that they had to overcome along the way. We were unfortunately cut off several times, and I think we were hearing things we weren't supposed to hear because we could hear Tim Dunn sighing in frustration. However, credit to the team, all the technical hiccups were eventually resolved. We also had a peculiar issue with one of the older carriages which we were on. I'm unsure of the exact problem, but it was resolved with a rubber glove and blue tack, which felt wonderfully Railway Series-like. Overall, despite the minor snags, I thoroughly enjoyed this journey, and day one of the event was absolutely lovely. Day 2 of the Awdry Extravaganza dawned, and unlike the previous day, I didn't have any special trains booked because, like I mentioned, I was too late to book them by the time I was looking at it, and Friday was apparently going to be the quietest of the 3 days. By this time, all the weekend slots, like I said, had been snapped up and no tickets were left available. It's just my mistake by leaving the ticket purchase until after work. So for Saturday, I embraced the Explorer ticket, which allowed me to take it easy and simply soak up the event. My first stop was at the exhibition at Talyllyn, as the kind volunteer from yesterday had suggested I come back early and they'd see what they could do to squeeze me in. Luckily there was an open slot due to a no-show. First off, I was greeted by the fantastic display featuring large-scale props from the show, including a superb recreation of the Fat Controller's office and living room. It's mostly like background details that you wouldn't even really notice in shows, like the details, like the newspaper having writing on it, and it's so small that it could probably only be legible with a magnifying glass. And even the sofas were made with real leather, which is astonishing. There was also a lovely display with boards explaining the timelines of how the books grew, showcasing the original illustrations, and it was just such a perfect nod to the 80th anniversary, and I'm so happy that they put this together. Next I encountered the large-scale Annie and Clarabelle prop, used for close-up and interior shots of the coaches. Again, seeing the intricate details like the overhead luggage compartments in these massive props was simply amazing. To my surprise, the actual gauge-free Thomas model was actually there too. I was blown away by the sheer size of it. There was actually a remote control next to the model, but we were told the batteries had died, unfortunately, after day 1, so there was no movement available. And fitting for the anniversary of the first Railway series books, we had a dedicated display to the 3 little engines themselves, Gordon, Henry and Edward, complete with early illustrations and notes from Awdry himself. Finally, and without a doubt the biggest deal for me personally at this exhibition, was a recreation of Marin Station as it appeared in Series 1, featuring actual props from the show. The station building was the very one used in Series 1, and seeing the characters themselves in the flesh was absolutely incredible. Henry was the same one from Season 1, including his original parts as old shape firebox was there, the original Gordon, the brass Edward that was built for Season 10, the original Duck, Thomas himself, and for anyone who cares, the original Billy as well. Not a character I'm overly fond of. I was so happy to get into this exhibition, and I really hope that you've enjoyed this look at it. A huge thank you to the volunteer for letting me in, and yes, I did pay. I just like to point that out, just for your information. I did pay to take that person's slot, so... As it was a more chilled out day, I used my Explorer ticket then to head up to Dolgoch. This was partly to get some different filming angles, but simply to get some time away from the crowds at Wharf because it was so busy. By comparison, it was incredibly peaceful up there compared to the other stations, so I was more than happy to get away from the crowds for a bit and enjoy the tranquility at Dolgoch. While I was there, I got to see Albert with his brand new face. For those who might not know, Albert is one of the Mid-Sodal Railway locomotives. I believe it was a model from Awdry's layout that was one of the original characters that he created. It was fantastic to see him in person, especially with the new face. Much better than the Nick Cage face that Talyllyn was wearing the previous day. I know some people love it. In fact, I was sitting in the carriage with someone who was adamant that it was actually a great face, but I don't agree, unfortunately, but, you know, to each their own. Upon returning to Wharf, I was able to meet Jerry, who also had a lovely new face, and Jerry is another Mid-Sodor Railway engine, and the model was built by Awdry for his 009 scale layout, a freelance design, but it was great to see another new face at the Extravaganza. The rest of the day I spent soaking up the atmosphere at Talyllyn Wharf until the day wrapped up. A place I was actually really keen to visit during this time was the fan tent, which featured a test track for displaying and running model engines which fans had brought along, and I'm just consistently blown away by the modelling talents of others. It genuinely made me feel a little embarrassed by my own modelling skills when I see the incredible things that others have produced, and in another way though, it's very inspirational. And I'm sure I'll try my hand one day at recreating or attempting to model characters from the books or TV series. Going to this event has only intensified my desire, seeing how superbly other people have brought these characters to life through models. This Awdry Extravaganza has been an incredible experience, and I'm so happy I got to attend. It was genuinely lovely to meet so many people that I've only known online and finally getting to be able to put faces to names. It was fantastic to properly meet Logan, aka Tats, in person, and wonderful to see Tom Marshall again. A huge thank you to him for actually giving me the tiny boko which he has recently designed, so I've got a 3D print of that. I'm looking forward to painting that one. I might need a magnifying glass. I also had the pleasure of meeting Michelle, aka Gothic Locomotive, and getting a proper look at their amazing models which they'd brought along with them to the event. And to everyone else I was able to meet, there's so many, it was a true joy, and I was genuinely surprised by how many people had actually heard of me. I still think of myself as very small compared to everyone else, and I didn't think anyone would be knowing me, but, you know, very surprising. Thank you to everyone who said kind words about the channel and my videos. While this may be the last Awdry Extravaganza for a while, I can assure you that when it returns, I will definitely be back. I truly regret actually not being able to visit before, honestly. I hope you enjoyed this glimpse into the event. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more railway adventures and model railway content, please do subscribe to the channel. And if you have any thoughts or memories about previous Awdry Extravaganzas or the Talyllyn Railway, please leave a comment below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Hwyl fawr.